Hi, welcome to episode 1 of Permission to Pause. I'm Megan Hubbard, and this is the podcast for moms like you to find ease, to cultivate energy, and to create habits that truly nourish you. I want to help you rise to meet your challenges with confidence and a little more calm starting today. In this episode, I'll be sharing some of my backstory and about how and why I'm here sharing a podcast with you, and why I'll end all of my episodes with eat lunch and make some new mistakes. I'll be getting a little vulnerable here right off the bat, and I hope it connects us, because while this podcast is for me in a way to share what I have learned and am learning, it's also very much for you. It's for us. And as always, I'll talk about the main takeaways at the end of the episode, so you don't have to take notes unless you really want to. Because if you're like me, you're driving, your hands are otherwise busy while you're listening. So thank you for being here, no matter where you are or what you're doing right now. Before we jump in, I invite you to pause and take a deep breath with me. And I would like to share a quote with you. This is an anonymous quote shared with me by a client who saw it posted on the wall of the gym where she went to work out, and she took a picture of it and sent it to me. You possess all of the tools needed to expand your awareness, to orchestrate the evolution of your consciousness, to choose happiness, to choose love. You are that powerful. Create the life you deserve. Vibrate love. Again, that's from Anonymous. And what I would like to add or tweak to that is create the life experience you desire. Because that experience piece of it can change in an instant, and that can happen before any circumstance changes. Now into the episode. We're going to go a little bit back in time to one of my nursing school courses. This was probably, for sure it was before 2010. I don't remember the exact year. But we did this exercise where we had to answer several questions similar to a personality test. And we weren't given any information about what it was about, what it was for. Just started the class with, here, just circle the first answer that feels right to you. Let's get through this, add up your score at the end. And then once we had our scores, our professor invited us to line up our bodies at the front of the classroom in order of the score that we got. It was numerical score. On one end, she explained, then was scores that showed answers describing a person who had a higher internal locus of control, or they felt like they had a lot of control over their choices and what happened to them. They felt like they had a lot of influence over their lives that way. On the other end of scoring was someone who lived life with more of an external locus of control. They felt like their life was more controlled by things that happened to them. And I was probably 5 in from the end of that side of the line of the external locus of control. Learning about that really shocked me. I'd never heard of this concept. I'd never heard it described this way. And if you had asked me just off the street, do you believe that you have control over your life and that you can make choices? I would say yes, absolutely. I believe in agency. I have control over my own choices. I can choose, and no one else can do that for me. And I really thought that I would say that I felt like I had some control over what happened in my life. So this idea really has stuck with me since then. And there are times when I'm reflecting on an experience, or sometimes even I recognize it in the middle of experience, where I am operating from an external locus of control, or I at least can ask myself, where do I think I am on this continuum? Where am I placing control over my life and my experience and my responses? And where can I take more of an internal locus of control focus? Where can I move closer to the internal locus control on this line? What is within my control here, and how can I act on that instead of focusing on the things that are outside of my control? Let's fast forward now to a year in the future. I'm a mom. I actually have a new baby, and we'd recently moved. It was a year that was really hard for me. I had decided I was going to sing a song for the church talent show. We were having a chili cook-off and talent show, and I thought, I'm new here. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to sing something. So I was looking through karaoke songs available on YouTube, and I came across Try Everything from the movie Zootopia. I had seen it, I think, once, thought it was cute. I didn't remember this song, but it was really catchy, and it caught my attention, and I listened through it. And the words actually really caught my attention. I'm going to read through some of the phrases that really did and still have a lot of meaning to me. I won't give up. No, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. And also the line, look how far you've come. You filled your heart with love. Baby, you've done enough. Take a deep breath. Don't beat yourself up. No need to run so fast. Sometimes we come last, but we did our best. And lastly, the part that will show up at the end of my podcast, I'll keep on making those new mistakes. I'll keep on making them every day, those new mistakes. These words, this whole song became like a mantra to me. I listened to it every morning for months, many times, multiple times in the morning. I would dance in the kitchen to it while I did breakfast with the kids, and I felt vibrantly alive again in almost a childlike way, which is kind of funny. It's a children's movie. I was feeling more childlike, and it was my kids saying, Mom, not this song again. Can you pick something else? And I would just tell them, I need this. Let me listen to it just a few times, and we'll go on with our day. In a way, for me, it was like the beautiful serenity prayer. It was reminding me what I had learned in nursing school about an internal locus of control, that I can have that making mistakes is not a problem, and even that trying again and again and making new mistakes as I grow is a normal and a good thing, because when I try new things and make new mistakes, I learn new things. And also that where I was right now was not behind, even though I had great dreams for where I wanted to go. I had done enough for today. I could see how far I'd come. I could take a deep breath when I needed to. Those messages were so important to me and really changed my life. Now I want to rewind. Sorry for this whiplash here. We're going fast forward and rewind and fast forward. Here's a rewind. I have known since 7th grade that I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. And my whole life, as far as I can remember, I knew I wanted to be a mother. But I never thought about how those roles would work together. As far as I can remember, my experience of observing women and mothers, they stayed home with their children. Or like my mother had jobs, but she always worked from home, whether it was childcare or other things she could do on the computer. And I just didn't realize how different it would be to manage a job outside the home and the expectations of that while having small children. Now, again, fast forward, I'm working off shifts in the hospital. I have my dream job in labor and delivery, and I have small children. It really was harder than I thought. Even with support at home from my husband and my parents while we lived close to them for several years. Looking back, I can see that I had expectations of myself that not even a superhero could pull off. I wasn't asking for help as often as I could, or even accepting it as often as it was offered, because I felt like I should be able to do it all. I skipped lunch on a regular basis to nap instead, and I didn't set many boundaries around my bedtime sleep. Even when I was exhausted, maybe I just wanted alone time, or maybe I just felt like I have to get this done before I go to bed today, and I didn't do it earlier, so it's got to be now. Even with the encouragement of my husband and family, I just didn't set these boundaries around my nighttime sleep. I even actually often took more pride in what I could do on little sleep than I did in my ability to get a healthy amount of sleep for me. So how do you think my afternoons and evenings were? Even when I did take a nap, I was running on fumes. If I skipped lunch, I was running on calorie fumes, and that was often, because maybe all I'd had since breakfast was graham crackers and milk, or maybe an apple, before I napped or moved along to whatever else I thought needed to be done right now. And I was running on connection fumes, friend connection fumes. My husband is wonderful, and we did take time together as often as we could. My children are wonderful, but I do have an extrovert part of me that enjoys being with a group of people, enjoys being with friends. And I was often so focused on what I hadn't yet done at home that I just felt like I always had to be there, and I wasn't creating as many opportunities to be with friends as would have felt good to me. After 2 years, fast forward again, here we go. After 2 years of staying home with my children, this was around the same time I found Try Everything song again. I had decided I wanted to try staying home with them. I knew that being a stay-at-home mom was not easy. I knew it had its own challenges. But I was hoping that by not having the expectations and requirements of a job outside the home and being able to focus on my family and on my home, that I would get some kind of reprieve from the stress of being a working mom. But after these 2 years, I really wanted to go back to work. I thankfully did not need to work as much as I had before. I could look for a job that was very part-time. Right now, actually, I work just about 1 day a week in the hospital is the minimum requirement, which I'm so grateful for in this career and with the experience I have. But at that time, after being home for 2 years, I knew that I really wanted to go back to work. I really missed it. But I also knew I could not do the working mom life and schedule the way I had been doing it in the past. I knew I could not survive that again. And still the thought was playing over and over in my head, but I don't know how to do it differently. I had seen other people do it differently in a more healthy way. I knew that it was possible, but that thought that kept going in my head was, but I don't know how. And that felt very defeating. One day, feeling very overwhelmed by this, I was folding laundry on my couch. I knew I wanted to go back to work, but I didn't know how my energy could survive it, and I didn't know how to make those changes in my life. I called my mom to talk. She listened. She has always been such a good listener, encouraging me to think outside the box, always just very encouraging and believing in me and my ability to work with God to do anything. And she and I had a wonderful conversation where I felt very encouraged. And at the end, she also asked if she could recommend something, a podcast to listen to. I, of course, said yes. I listened to see what it was all about. And in listening to this podcast, I found out what a life coach is. I joined her group program. I learned more about the difference between a fact and my own thought or story about it and how that affects the results in my life. I began to understand better what a boundary was and how to lovingly put them in place. I decided I wanted to help other people this way too, and I started to research life coach certifications, which in a way shocked me because if you had asked me in years before, I would have said, I never want to be my own boss. I never want my own business. But once I experienced this, I knew it was something I wanted to share. In my research, I found a certification that trained their students as a health and life coach. And knowing that I wanted to change my eating and sleeping patterns and include more exercise in my life, I chose that certification because I knew I needed that help first. And as I went through the training, I learned more about what foods give me energy and when it works well for my body to eat them, like actually eating lunch. There's more I can say about lunch, and I'm sure I will in future podcasts. But one thing that really stuck out to me was this 4-day eating experiment I did in the training program, where I ate a full lunch every day, and it changed my life. Within those 4 days, I saw a stark difference in how much energy I had when I ate lunch that had protein and vegetables versus what I had been doing in the past. And while I can't say I've never missed lunch since then, it happens, I always come back to it, and I will never stop recommending it as an energy bridge into your afternoon and evening. Also, as someone who never did sports as a teen, I didn't have workout days or conditioning days, I didn't have to run laps or anything like that. I was learning more about what exercise I like to do and that it is something I like and that helps me feel good. I used to always believe that exercise was something that drained my energy that I had so little of. It takes energy to exercise, right? I did not understand when people said that it could give you energy. But as I did these experiments and tried to include more movement and energy, I felt, again, more vibrantly alive, learning new things and making new mistakes as I worked toward these goals. I was taught over and over again that small hinges open big doors, and I leaned into that, doing small things to move my body and find out what feels good, and finding that it actually did give me energy. I saw the small steps I took have a domino effect in my marriage and parenting. As I worked on my own health and focused on listening to my body, I saw that I was better at working things out in my marriage too. I felt safer accepting my part in unhealthy patterns and taking steps to change them. And I was more present parent when I took care of my energy. And where I thought I didn't have time to do things with friends, I started to initiate walks with friends or host a play date, which was really new for me, and I enjoyed it. Now, as I prepared for this podcast, I noticed that I compared myself then, at moments, almost 5 years ago to now, and started to have a little judgment for the things that she thought she was doing well at, that I do even better at now. Or the things that were hard for her and took what seemed like a long time to change that are more second nature to me now. There was even a little judgment for the things that she started then that I'm still learning how to do well now and integrate into my life. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to pause and take a step back, lovingly approach my voice of judgment with my voice of wisdom, and choose to say, I'm so grateful for her, and I'm so grateful for how far we've come. Starting small and imperfect is a beautiful place to start and continue my progress. Now, why does this matter to you? I've shared a lot about me and my background. My goal today was to connect with you on a personal level, to offer you a glimpse into my past, or maybe you will find something you can relate to, and hear from me why supporting you in creating ease, energy, healthy habits, and thriving relationships is my passion. I have and continue to live my version of it, and I find joy in supporting women through their personal versions of it. I can't wait to share some guests here as well. There will be guests to come. I believe that they have a message and skills to share that will support you, and I'm so excited to share them with you. I've already had a couple of women say yes, so more to come on that. Some of you listening I may never meet and get to know, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here. I hope that this helps. And you will hear me share each episode the advice that I found so incredibly helpful to eat lunch and to make some new mistakes. Now, some of you I will get to know and will work closely on what your goals are, what your new mistakes are, and celebrating them in the creation process. One specific piece of advice I want to share from this episode is to pause here before we say goodbye and think of one teeny tiny thing you can do or think differently to move you closer to an internal locus of control on that side of the continuum. When you can be in a place of letting go of what isn't in your control and making empowered choices on the areas where you do have control, you are so powerful and you move forward. Let's recap. I talked briefly about the difference between an external and internal locus of control. I talked about how powerful it was for my life and energy to start the habit of eating lunch. I shared how the lyrics from the song Try Everything helped me feel vibrantly alive again, reminding me to look at how far I'd come, take a deep breath and not beat myself up, and keep making new mistakes every day. I mentioned that small hinges open big doors, and shared some of the things in my life that I felt like were the bigger things that changed as a result of the smaller steps that I took. And I let you know how much I love guiding you through your version of the process of feeling more vibrantly alive and taking your small steps that transform your life and relationships. I believe the world is a better place when you feel alive. If you love this episode, will you share it with a mom who you know has been talking about wishing she had more energy? It would mean so much to me. Before we talk again, make some new mistakes, and if you haven't already today, pause for lunch. Talk to you next time. Also, I want to let you know that if you are watching or listening to this close to the original release date, then there is still time to sign up for my Energy Catalyst group program for moms. We start Thursday, February 20th, and the last day to sign up is Wednesday the 19th. I would love to have you join me, especially if this content today resonated with you and you would love to magnify your energy. It's going to be a 90-day program. There's more details in the link in the show notes.